Hello and welcome back to Throttle Up, and welcome back to another review of the Kia Seltos Facelift 2023, where I cover the HTK Plus variant now. The last time I covered the HTX Plus, which is the topmost variant of the tech lineup in the Kia Seltos lineup, but this one is exactly in between that lineup. You get HTE, HTK, HTK Plus, which is this one, HTX, and then it goes up to HTX Plus. You also get the GTX Plus and X line, but we'll not talk about that right now. But according to me, this is the most value for money lineup, and that is why you should stick to the very end of the video to understand what all features do you get and whether is it actually worth upgrading to HTX and HTX Plus. So you might be thinking that the price is not revealed yet. How are you talking about value for money? It's obvious that the feel-good features would obviously cost a bomb because you don't need them, and this one primarily gets everything that you need. So now, before any further ado, let's get straight into the review. First things first, the engine. Overall, across the lineup, you get 3 engine options: 1.5 naturally aspirated petrol, 1.5 turbo petrol, which is completely new, and 1.5 diesel. The naturally aspirated petrol is mated to a manual or a CVT, the turbo petrol is mated to either an IMT or a DCT, and the diesel is mated to either an IMT or an automatic transmission. Now, this 1.5 turbo petrol produces a power of 160 PS and a maximum torque of 253 Newton meters, which is more than the 1.4 petrol which we got in the previous generation of the Kia Seltos. It's packaged very nicely. It says Turbo Smart Stream 6 right there, and has good insulation on the bonnet to prevent cabin noise, so that's good. And since this is the newest engine, I would love to try this out. And yes, you should consider if you are actually going for a Kia Seltos. This turbo petrol sounds good, and turbo petrols are talk of the town right now. Now for the front design, you get a lot of changes which you can see right there from the previous generation, but you still miss out on some features which you get in the upper variants of the new Kia Seltos. The first thing is that you get this nose tiger grille, which is standard across the variants, but yes, now this is finished in matte plastic as compared to the piano black finishes. This is also covered in matte silver instead of the chrome that we get in the upper variants, but still it looks good and has the same design language. The biggest thing that it misses out on is the LED treatment. You do not get any LED DRLs which are signature to the Kia Seltos, because you can see a chrome silver strip running right there across the grille. Otherwise, the HTX and the HTX Plus gets a DRL running through it. Now this is simple. This is just simple matte plastic that you see. This is not an LED. Now this is how it looks like when it's lit up. You get a halogen indicator, a halogen projector lamp, but still an LED DRL which just does not run across the grille. So that's the differentiation that you get in terms of the headlamps. The good part is that the design of the grille and the headlights remain the same, so that's very nice. You also get the fog lamps, which are halogen. They're not LED, but they're nicely finished in piano black and glossy plastic, so that appeals to the eyes. You also get a front parking sensor, so that's a very nice touch. There's no front parking camera, which is only restricted to the GTX Plus, but still the front parking sensors are a very good touch. You also get the front skid plate. So in terms of the design, they are very similar to what we see in the upper variants of the car. The only thing missing is the LED treatment. Now from the side profile, you get roof rails, you get body color door handles, turn indicators on the ORVMs, alloy wheels, which is a very good thing, and this design is something that we have seen in the previous generation as well. Personally, I like this design better than what we have seen in the HTX Plus of the newest variant, because those are not easy on the eyes, but these are. Now about the length. The length of the Kia Seltos Facelift is more than the previous generation, so it's 4365 mm now, and the wheelbase is 2610 millimeters, which is the same, but yeah, length is more, so you might get more space in the boot space and the rear seats. Now you get plastic body cladding, which is simple. It's finished in plastic, and you do not get any cuts and creases like we have seen the GTX Plus, which add to the design. You get request sensor on the driver's side, but there's no request sensor on the co-driver side. You miss out on the chrome on the windowsill, but you still get the roof rails, which are obviously non-functional, but yes, there's a silver and plastic finish on the roof rails, which is similar to the HTX Plus variant, so that's nice. Now for the alloy wheels, the size is 205/65 R16, so that's decent tire profile for a car of this segment. Now you do not get any blind spot cameras or any sort of cameras or puddle lamps on this ORVM, but it's still not a problem to me in this price segment, which would be around 15 to 16 lakhs, I guess. Now if you were thinking, where's the facelift? Rear is the place where you get that facelifted feel to the new generation of the Kia Seltos. You do not get any integrated spoiler that we have seen in the upper variants, like the HTX Plus integrated spoiler that you can see right there, but it still gets the stop lamp at the top, which is nice. You get the rear defogger, rear washer and wiper. Kia badging right at the center, and the connected LED treatment remains the same, so that's nice. This horizontal lamp directly converting to a vertical lamp is still exactly how you have seen in the GTX Plus and the STX Plus as well. The only thing which differs now is you do not get any LED treatment in the main tailgate because both the things are halogen. You also do not get any sequential treatment because that's a simple halogen bulb. But the design overall is the same, so I'm not complaining. It doesn't bother me as much as I would think. You get the Seltos badging on the left, which is finished in a different font as compared to the previous generation. You get a TGDI badging on the right, which basically says that it's a turbo petrol. But if you get the DCT in the turbo petrol, the badge would say 7DCT on the right. The reverse parking sensors are housed in the bumper, which is finished in matte plastic. The reverse lamp and the reflectors are finished in weird sort of design. I love the GTX Plus bumper, but this is just nice. You get a rear skid plate and the exhaust is placed right at the right. But yes, no fake exhaust treatment, which is actually a good thing. Now you get electromagnetic button to open the rear. You can see the front parking camera right there. The power tailgate feature is not available in any variant of the Kia Seltos, so it's not about the HTK Plus, it's just that it does not get any. You get a halogen lamp, but there's no subwoofer in this because this one does not get the Bose speaker setup. The boot space is 433 liters and you do not get the 60-40 split. So yeah, that 60-40 split is something which is missing in this HTK Plus variant. To me personally, I think the depth of the Kia Seltos boot is a little lower, but I think that's because the loading lip had to be at a decent height, so that's why they have a compromise on the depth. But yes, now coming to the finish on the door pads of the rear doors, almost everything you see is hard plastic. None of it is soft plastic. This is hard, which is actually different to what we have seen in the upper variants because those do get soft treatment on the door pads. This is also finished in matte plastic as compared to the piano black that we see in the upper variants. The speaker design remains the same, which is very nice, although you do not get any Bose speaker setup in this one. The good part is that the center console pretty much remains the same because you get two AC vents which are adjustable. You get two types of USB sockets with some place to keep your stuff, so that's very nice. So no compromises in terms of rear AC ventilation in this variant. Now getting into it, the Ingress and Egress is easy. The legroom is good, the thigh support is adequate, the recline angle is not adjustable in this variant and it's still upright to me personally. You get the sunblinds of course, you do not get any center armrest, which is sort of a miss, and obviously you do not get any cup holders coupled with that, but the biggest miss is that it gets two headrests which are not adjustable. Why the hell not? And I'm more surprised because you get grab handles with lamps, and you know why the lamps are not in the center? Because you do get a panoramic sunroof in this variant also. That is only restricted to the 1.5 turbo petrol in HTK Plus, but you still get a panoramic sunroof. Kia sure knows what will pull the Indian customer, and they have been bang on with the panoramic sunroof, and it's a good strategy to introduce it with the turbo petrol because that will basically sweeten the deal for the Indian customer, where they'll be willing to pay more for the turbo petrol even if they don't want that engine, just to get that panoramic sunroof in the HTK Plus. So very smart from Kia. Now for the dashboard, you get connected treatment for the instrument cluster, and this one gets the digital instrument cluster and the 8-inch infotainment system, but it gets that connected thing. You get hard plastics overall the dashboard, but still you get that glossy treatment, which is nice. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Overall the rear seat experience is good, but the biggest thing that I feel that it misses out on is that adjustable headrest, but that makes up for that panoramic sunroof, which when you'll open you get that airy feeling nonetheless. Now from the front door pads have the same story to tell with complete hard plastics, so we'll skip right to the features and the buttons that gets on the door itself. You get electrically adjustable ORVMs with 4 power window buttons, but the only auto up down one is the driver side window. You can obviously close and open the outside rear mirror from the door itself, which is pretty normal for a car of this price segment. All hard plastics, as I said. The only thing that I miss is the piano black around the door handles. You do not get any electrical adjustability for the driver side. You get 2 pedals because it's an IMT, so you don't get any clutch, but there's a proper dead pedal dedicated to it. You get headlight leveler, traction control, auto start stop enabler, and obviously it gets the engine start stop button, which I was expecting in this variant. Now this is how the steering wheel and the instrument cluster greets you. The steering wheel is now finished in leather, which obviously is a feel-good feature, so you have to make do with the plastic finish of the steering wheel. There are a lot of buttons, so these are the cruise control buttons and the instrument cluster, the MID buttons. These one are the infotainment buttons. You do get a manual lever to adjust the steering wheel, but that's only for the tilt adjustability, so you do not get any telescopic adjustability. The third spoke is finished in silver, no black plastic, so I really like that. You get stocks for the wipers and the headlamps. The headlamps, although, are auto. Now you look at the instrument cluster and see what's the difference between the HTX Plus. If you have checked out that video, this is similar to what we see in the Currents and the Venue and the i20, because this one does not get the new 10.25 instrument cluster which we have seen in the HTX Plus, or I'll show you in the GTX Plus again. This one is the basic one, which I particularly don't like because it gets a digital treatment, digital text. However, the new instrument cluster is the highlight because those get proper dials and different instrumentations and different look and feel, which I personally love. You can change the colors of this pattern, but that's about it. You cannot change the visual effect of this instrument cluster. The MID is obviously controllable through the steering wheel on the right, but yeah, simple settings. No mind-blowing feature in this instrument cluster which you haven't seen so far. So yeah, that's about it for the instrument cluster. I've covered it a lot of times now and you have seen it a lot of times now, so I wouldn't waste my time on that. As I said, connected treatment for the instrument cluster and in the infotainment. This infotainment that you see is again not new. This is something that we have seen in the previous Kia Sonnet and Kia Seltos and even Currents for that matter. You get buttons, tactical buttons, you get knobs for controlling the volume, which is nice, but the 8-inch screen is still crisp. It does the job pretty nicely and it's very smooth and fluid. As I said, Hyundai and Kia cannot go wrong with the infotainments and the instrument clusters because they're just master at what they do in terms of at least technology. And you know the best part about this infotainment? It gets a wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which even the GTX Plus and the HTX Plus does not get, because those infotainments are different and they do get a wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but this one gets a wireless one. So that's very nice, and this is something which stands out in the HTK and the HTK Plus. So that's very nice. Overall, the infotainment is a good thumbs up because it does the job pretty well. AC vents look fantabulous. I love them. The climate control starts from HTK Plus, so you do not get that in the HTK variant and the HTE. You get hard plastic. You get good depth in the dashboard, which is always appreciable from my side. You get glossy finish, which looks very premium, and it does make up for not having the soft treatment. You get a good space to keep your stuff. There's no wireless charger. You get Type-C USB socket. Type-C USB socket and a 12-volt socket. You do not get any buttons, those are dummy buttons, just a parking assist button right there. A leather gear knob which is very nice to hold. That starts from HTK Plus. You get manual handbrake, 2 cup holders and a center console armrest which has decent space, no lining as such, and obviously no smart air purifier, which I personally don't think there's a need for it. Yes, in terms of other ergonomic features, you get a glove box which I cannot see the cool function, but yes, it has to be somewhere. But yeah, the cabin gets practical bits. There's also a seatbelt adjuster. You get adjustable headrests at least on the front 2 seats. The bolstering is very nice. The cushioning is good enough, and it's finished in almost fabric but part leather as well. You get a day-night RVM mirror on the co-driver sun visor, but there's no mirror on the driver side because why would you want to look at a big smile on your face while driving that new turbo petrol? Just feel it. You get cabin lamps which are LED and one-touch operation for the blinds and the panoramic sunroof, and the glass pane is huge, I must say. So panoramic sunroof is, I must say, a very good addition to this HTK Plus. I wasn't expecting that before I entered the showroom, I must say. I was expecting that in the HTX and the HTX Plus and the GTX Plus, but not in the HTK Plus. So that's a good addition. Personally, I'm thoroughly impressed by what they have done in this specific variant because they have done things which they haven't done in the HTK or even the HTX. So I'm mighty impressed. One more thing is that the key remains the same across the lineup, and they have done a different treatment to the key as to what we have seen in any other car, because the buttons on the key are now on the side. Just look at this. It feels cute and it feels nice. I know it's a trivial thing, but anything that makes the brand stand out and makes you notice is worth appreciating, because in terms of so much innovation which every brand is doing, it's very difficult to actually get noticed in such small things and details. So now in terms of the comparison to the HTX and the HTK, HTK is obviously one lower than this and HTX is one more upper than the HTK Plus variant. Now what it gets over the HTK are some important features like the cruise control. You get the climate control, you get panoramic sunroof, which is pretty much the biggest highlight for the Indian customer. You get a push button start stop, which is again a very essential feature if you are spending around 15 lakh rupees for a car. Rear washer, defogger, rear wiper obviously is something that you do not get in the HTK, but you do get in the HTK Plus. You also miss out on the electrically foldable and adjustable rear view mirrors. in the HTK which you get in the HTK Plus. So it's actually worth upgrading to HTK Plus if you're considering the HTK, because it does add features which you would want if you're spending around 15 lakh rupees in a car. And I'm not even talking about the LED DRLs, because to me those are still feel good features. But the ones that I mentioned previously are ones that you would want. Now on to the comparison with HTX, and why did I say that the HTK Plus is the most value for money variant? Because when you compare the feature list, you realize that the most of the features that it gets are cosmetic. You get a lot of chrome, you get a lot of leather in the interiors, you get LED treatment in the headlamps, you get good features as well, like a rear center armrest, a 10.25-inch infotainment, over-the-air updates, ambient lighting, dual zone climate control, isofix mounts. So there are things which added, even the reclining function for the rear seats, but obviously you have to pay a premium for that. But as you would realize, all of those are comfort features, and if you're on a budget looking for a nice cute SUV which does the job done pretty nicely with the same engine specs, the HTK Plus makes up for a really good proposition. And if I hadn't mentioned already, it gets all the standard safety features across the lineup. So you get 6 airbags, electronic stability control, vehicle stability management, hill start assist, ABS with EBD, all-wheel disc brakes, tire pressure monitoring system, rear parking sensors as standard. So yeah, that was my take on the Kia Seltos Facelift 2023 HTK Plus Turbo Petrol IMT variant. Do let me know in the comments what do you think about this car, and which variant would you consider if you are in the market for a new Kia Seltos. Like this video so it reaches out to more reachable and targeted audience. Subscribe to the channel for more such content, and I'm hoping that you still stay till the very end of this video so you like my content. So do not forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching. Throttle up.